Hey, welcome back. Another exciting podcast. Well, I think it's an exciting podcast, and I think Charlotte does too. So we thought we would have a conversation about people stepping out from under their past. And the reason that was super important to me is I think what happens sometimes is like people's past is what has defined them. And so people go, oh, there's the little mentally person. Or, that's a friend of mine's word, and I just love that word. Or there's that person that was like that drunk or that druggie. And I know they're stigmatizing terms that I wouldn't normally use, but I think I hear that. I hear that from families. I hear that from friends. I hear that from people in the community. And Charlotte, I wanted to have a conversation about like how can we support people to step out of that? And I know that you have a really great example, I'm hoping you'll share, of like even you being a little like challenged to like go, oh yeah, someone can step out of their past.
Wait, you'll have to give me a little bit more tease around which story you want me to tell, but
Calgary.
oh, yeah, I thought that. One of the things that I wanted to start this conversation off is often the person in the family who is struggling the most ends up with that scapegoat label. Oh, they're the ones that are going to ruin the holidays, or they're the ones that'll blah blah. And that scapegoat label can, on top of the mental health label that they have, can be like, well, you know what, I'm the one that's gonna screw up the event, so I'm just whatever.
I'm
And when
gonna
they
do it now.
do it
You
anyway,
expect
yeah.
it.
And then, or they say, you know what, my family's never gonna change, I'm stepping away. And
Mm.
you see those two examples, and families say, well, what happened? We were perfect, we celebrated them, we supported them. But did they, when the person wanted to make change? But back to the Calgary story. So uh, when my daughter decided she was moving out of the house, now I truly believe she was going to live with me forever. In fact, the house that we lived in at the time was set up for an adult child to live with her mother forever. And then one day she's like, I'm moving. And I thought, okay, down the street. So I could still take care of her if life gets hard. And she chose that she was leaving the city and moving to Calgary, which is a day and a half drive away from where I was living. And panicked. The first call I made was to you. And I said, we got to get a lot of work in Calgary now because I need to go once a month. Absolutely, for sure. And you went, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, we're not. Because what is the message that you're giving her? And the message loud and clear that I was giving her was, you can't do life without me. And
Yeah.
you need me to be close by to swoop up and fix you when life gets hard. And so one of the great things that you supported me with, Robyn, was sitting in my own discomfort and making sure that my messaging to her was that you've got this. I trust you. Calgary is going to be an amazing opportunity for you. And let me know when I need to show up and support you as a mom, encourage you, whatever you need, but I'm not swooping in and saving you. Um, and that was around messaging. It was that I've got to make sure that my messaging was correct on that, because she's gone on from Calgary and is living a pretty amazing life. And I didn't think she'd ever leave that house. And today she's in Madrid. Went to see Cabaret last night. Had a wonderful time celebrating her second year anniversary. And I didn't think she'd ever be in a relationship. And so the reason I share that is, if I hadn't changed the way I showed up and supported her, I don't know if she'd be living this great life. And not that I controlled everything, but I controlled my messaging. And for the longest time, I got my messaging wrong.
I think it's with all good intentions that family and friends worry about us. I think that's this. I want you to have a good life, but I'm worried you've done certain things. Like I know years ago when I was a little interesting, although gotta be honest, I'm still interesting. I have time, say Charlotte, but like, my partner at the time, everything I did related to my mental health instead of I'm just being a human being doing stuff at the age I'm doing stuff at. And, like the reason for this topic for me is like that conversation about your daughter. She wanted to go and reinvent herself as Sarah, right? And not be, oh, Sarah, the one with the mental health issue and who did whatever. And like sometimes we just want to be us. And we don't always want to be the person that had that difficulty with drugs and alcohol or has that diagnosis. And it's the place about I want to support people to not be treated as fragile or different than, or we have to be so more careful around you. And yeah, I'm going to be honest, right? Some of us are going to fall over, but isn't falling over a part of life, right? That's how we learn. And, some of us are still going to have very interesting behaviors at times until we don't. But if there's never an expectation of us to be different, why would we show up as different? I had this conversation with this drop-in service in Alaska. And it was in Homer, Alaska. And, it was a long time ago now. Don't know if they're still there. But Homer, Alaska is, considered a drinking town with a fishing problem. It's stunning. And this drop-in service would feed people every day. They'd take them out to go camping, to go fishing, do all this stuff. And they were like, well, we have to be here for these people because if we weren't here, what would they do? And I want to be honest, I chatted with some people who said, oh, I don't need to be here anymore, but why would I not keep coming when I can just get all this cool stuff? And I think for me, there's this, I don't know how to describe it. It's a bit of a catch-22. We can be there to support people, but we also have to be there and believe that people can have these amazing lives. And so I know I was doing work with a similar service and we changed stuff up and said to people, I don't believe you have to be here all the time. Like, I'm going to trust you to, and we'll support you to go off and do different things. And a heap of those people have jobs, have relationships, are doing their life. And it was like letting people out of their past. And some people might not want to let go of that past because it can be. And I'm very careful how I say this because I've been slammed before for saying that sometimes we can be the entitled mentally people. Oh, we can't do that because I have a mental health issue. And Charlotte, you and I have chatted about that a little, but I want to support people to step out of just being that person and like encourage people to take agency for themselves. I'm very excited about this topic, so I should throw back to you so it's not just me gibbering.
Well, you circled around drugs and alcohol a couple of times, and that's part of my lived experience growing up in a family where both my parents uh, had an interesting relationship with alcohol, and never knowing, what parent was going to show up at the time. And it was interesting because as an adult child, um, I was always looking for that label on my parents. Okay, what state are they in right now when I see them? Or what's in their coffee cup, or what's in this? And when my mom decided to make a change in her life and stop drinking for a while, I was still expecting that version of her to show up and waiting for her to fail. And I think that the reason I wanted to share that is because it had an interesting, it caused me to have a strained relationship with her, that I was controlling that strain because I was coming in constantly with that, you're going to mess up. I've got eyes on you, and I'm checking to see what you're drinking, or who, how you are. And as opposed to just, going back to those pure values, because of you've got this, Mom. I'm here to support you. I'm not judging you. It's not you do you, but you do this version of recovery that's working for you, and let me just be your daughter. And the reason I bring that up is because that messaging comes from the other members of my family. Oh, your mom's drinking again, or your mom's this again. And so it gets in, and then it has an impact on me trying to keep those values that I hold dear front and center when I'm getting some background play, which then segues into another story. Because this summer, there was a couple of times when friends of my daughters had really hard nights, and instead of owning that hard night, they tried to put the blame back on Sarah. Oh, well, if Sarah hadn't been there, I wouldn't have. And Sarah's living this amazing life that's not like her past, and yet people are still trying to make her about her past. And she's worked really hard at, that was me in my teen years. That's not me now. And yet people still try to bring that, that version of her back to, even though it hasn't been around in, many, many years. And as a mom, the mama bear in me comes out and says, how dare you? Why are you doing that? Why do you have to put blame? And then the peer value person in me is, I wish I could support them to see life differently, so that they weren't, first shot putting the blame on somebody else. I don't know.
It's really interesting. I did a course years ago that had this concept called the already always listening. And I've never forgotten it, because it's the place about, do you show up in communication, connection with someone else, already listening to how they're going to be, already expecting them to be a certain way. And so, a little bit different from the mental health stuff, but my mum and I have had a checkered past. And for a long time, I couldn't spend more than 1 or 2 days in a row with my mum, because it was like, oh, she's going to be blah, 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 blah. And like, there was a point a few years ago where I went, can I just show up and be with her? Like, can I bring those peer values? And my mum and I have this amazing relationship now, to the point where I'm going to be spending more time with her and supporting her, as she goes on that later journey in life. And it's this beautiful thing, but I had to let go of believing that she was always going to show up in a particular way. And I know that she let go of some of how I always showed up because, I was, and I mean, still am a little nomadic and a little scatty at times. And it's, I was saying to Charlotte this morning, Charlotte has been the one person that's kept me in the same job with the business for almost 8 years. That's unheard of. That is almost double length of time for any other job that I've ever held. And so I'll be eternally grateful for that. But, so my mum had this view of how I would be, and she had to let that go too. And so when I think about when do we get to come out from under our past, I think there's a couple of things. When we say, I'm not that same person, is one. When we start to take responsibility for ourselves and what we do, and when our family and friends, like, allow is a weird word, but actually allow us to be something other than what they've always seen us to be.
And I think that that place also is sometimes not everyone is going to accept that new version, and family and friends, you get to decide what that definition is.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a really important part. The other thing when you were talking, Robyn, I think how it changed was you made the change first, because we can't make what our mothers do or say or whatever.
Yeah.
But you made a real conscious decision that you were going to show up different. And I think that space allowed amazing conversations with you and your mom. And then she had a place to start to do things different too.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love that you say we only have control over us. So even if I show up differently, she may have not, or anyone in any of your lives may not. But I'm just going to keep showing up now as me and the way I want to show up, and how anyone else shows up, that's on them. That's not on me. And so, Charlotte, I love that. I've seen you step out of your comfort zone more than just the Calgary, and we don't have chat about all of those, but that place of going, oh, okay, let me breathe and let me just go. She's got this, and she'll ask for something if she needs it. And I think that allowed Sarah to show up differently too. So I think it's that place you only have control over you. And I know, and if Sarah's listening, I know that there's still the occasion your mum's like, what are you doing? And it's still beautiful and amazing to, like, see people step out. And I was watching an old video of myself last night. I spoke at She Day in Winnipeg in 2018, I think. And I saw me talking about, like, we will have people in our lives that are naysayers. Like, it's gonna be there. Naysayers to you as a family member, oh, don't trust that person because, or when, we have people naysaying to ourselves, we also have naysayers inside our heads. That doesn't mean I'm hearing voices. It's just normal stuff, right? Where we're like, I don't know if I can do this. But it's that place I want to keep supporting people to go, I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to step into it anyway. And I think that is the beauty when I think about what we do, Charlotte, and the kind of values that we aspire to is we want people to like step into something if that's where they want to go, even if they're really scared, even if they're not sure. Like that's the beauty for me of even doing these podcasts, just talking about these conversations.
Well, I think these ones are so important because a lot of people have these thoughts and thinking that it's only about I'm the only one that has these thoughts, and there's so many of us who have it. And naysayer for me is the internal naysayer is that internal label that you go to when life gets hard, and for many years it was the bad mom label, which was like my equivalent. And I sure let that one go. And that was a lot of work on myself and believing that, I did the best I could at the time. And doing better now because of the work I've done on myself in order to support both my girls to lead a life that they choose. And I think that's what, if we can, as family members, support ourselves first, and then support the rest of our family second in the way that they want us to support them.
Love that you said that piece. I just did an Exploration Mastery Live Summit. We have this membership site that people can look at if they want, and we have live summits where we have conversations with peer workers, and we were talking about trauma-informed. And trauma-informed was about supporting people in a way that they want to be supported. Now, that doesn't mean paying everyone's bills and everything, but like actually finding out from someone what it looks like for them to feel supported versus thinking we know the way that someone should be supported. And someone mentioned the words of supporting people to have agency for themselves, and like we respect and like look at that dignity piece of when we're with other people instead of making assumptions about we know best, because the only person we know about is ourselves.
We know best about is ourselves. Yeah.
Well, the only people we know truly is ourselves. I'm gonna die my sword on that one. Yes, we know best about what's right for us when we get to explore that. But I also think truly we only know ourselves, and we're in constant inquiry about anyone else. So I don't know. I think I've said all I want to say about this. So I'll let you finish us up and with whatever you've got to say.
I'm going to end it on, I love doing these talks with you, and yes, you and I could have talked for another hour on this subject, but for me, the place is allowing the people around us, the ones that we hold, and I'm talking from the family side, hold in our heart, allow them to be who they want to be and support them to find that. And if you're struggling with being that scapegoat or that past and you want to explore something different, that's where I love peer support. I'm going to give us a plug and, find someone who does peer support that can support you to figure out what you want. And if you want to get rid of that label, I think peer support is a great place to go. I'm letting you close us out on that one, Robyn.
Mic drop. See you all next time.